What's up, guys? Yuga29 back with you again. It is time for another analysis session. Well, this one is more team building. So I'm going to take you through how I built one of, this is probably my best team. This is the team that I currently ladder with on Pokemon Showdown. I think personally it's the best team that I've done, and it was basically just it was making sure that you were able to like make a good core. So that's my strong belief is that in every good team is a good core. It may just be two Pokemon, one defensive, one specially defensive. It might even just be one utility tank that you bring in every single time to take hits. But the team, in order for it to work, needs a core. You can't just stack a team full of dragons and think, oh, it's going to work. You need support for it. So this team I based around this Mega Venusaur that I made. It's quite offensive. I don't give it Leech Seed because I find it's just a bit too gimmicky and a bit too easily predictable. And so instead, to counter those Ferrothorns that switch in on it and try and troll me, I run the Hidden Power Fire. And with max special attack, and then when I get to Mega Evolution, it shoots up even further. Um, it's an OHKO or a 2-hit KO, depending on whether the Ferrothorn has specially defensive EVs invested. But really, the aim. So I'll try and take you through kind of my method process. So I figured if I'm going to make a team with Venusaur, let's look at a few of Venusaur's main threats within the OU tier. And one that just screamed out to me was Talonflame. If Talonflame comes in and Venusaur hasn't hit it with a Sludge Bomb, then it's a sitting duck. So I had to think, okay, what was the best Talonflame counter that I could find? And that was Heatran. Now, this is a specially defensive Heatran, but still with 248 base defense and 386 HP, it's going to eat up all those hits from Talonflame. I run a pretty gimmicky set. I've got Lava Plume, Roar, Toxic, and Taunt, and that's because a lot of people say, well, why not run Ancient Power for Talonflame? You don't want to run just one move to just take out one specific Pokemon, because then you're ruining the structure. This is a Heatran that is built for just taking on lots of different opposition. You give it 108 speed EVs because you would be surprised how many Pokemon you can catch off guard with that many speed EVs. I've switched in on so many Sizzles that will go straight for the superpower only to get a Lava Plume in the face first that OHKOs. And really, the aim of this set is not only to counter Talonflame, but really it's just a really good special switch. You know, Galvantula's been a bit common again. I think it's going to go. It's pretty much UU, but basically a lot of special attackers can be taken care of by Heatran, but there are some that it can't take care of. So I run lefties instead of Air Balloon, so ground type attacks are a problem. And it's also not great for Venusaur because it doesn't want to really take EQs. So what's a Pokemon that I could use that is able to take ground type attacks but also supports the weaknesses of Heatran? So basically, Heatran's weaknesses are fighting and I was about to say earth, ground, and water. So to cover the water, I already had Venusaur, and to cover the other two weaknesses, I decided to pick Landorus Therian. So this bad boy, he is lax-natured, um, because he doesn't really need the he doesn't really need the special defense. He's a pivot. I mean, if anything, yeah, I could drop it from the special attack, but that means that Hidden Power Ice isn't going to do as much, and this thing is like crucial on the set. So it really depends on what stat I want to take down. I wish I could do like minus HP, but I'd. He's still got 246, which is enough to do damage. He's a really good switch in with Intimidate, and with U-turn, he has a way out. Although like he doesn't have too much speed. I don't know if I should maybe sacrifice some defense EVs to give him a bit more speed because he only just outspeeds Heatran. Only just. Um, and so this set basically, it's just you get your rocks. You can get your rocks up. It's nice and easy. You got the EQ as your coverage move, and Hidden Power Ice to deal with those pesky dragons. So then what happened was I realized Heatran could maybe deal with ice types, but Heatran can't deal with Mamoswine. And none of my Pokemon can deal with Mamoswine right now, and it's still an OU threat. So I thought to myself, okay, what's the best Pokemon I could bring in maybe for Mamoswine when it comes in? And that's our good old friend Rotom Wash. The classic Rotom Wash that everybody knows and loves. Mine's a bit different. I don't run Chesto Rest just because the only status that it really affects Rotom is Poison. And you can counter that because you have 3 Pokemon in your team immune to poison already. Oh, sorry, 2. Spoilers. But like Venusaur and Heatran will eat up poison type attacks. Heatran is a perfect Mega Venusaur counter as well, unless you're facing a physical variant with Earthquake, which is actually pretty nifty sometimes when you do that. But anyway, this Rotom basically, you were just switching in, and it's kind of like it works really well with Heatran. The only thing that both of them really can't deal with is Excadrill, but you have Landorus Therian to deal with Excadrill, which is fine. But what I realized with Rotom is that it's basically absolutely wrecked by like Conkeldurr and stuff, because if you try and burn it, it's going to come back and haunt you. That's why we got Venusaur though, because Venusaur deals with Conkeldurr. But I realized that I was missing something in my defensive core. I just feel like I needed one other Pokemon that could maybe set up a bit more status and be able to cause some trouble. And I looked and I decided to go with Mandibuzz, because Mandibuzz has ridiculously good stats. I don't think people realize how good the stats are. It's a physically defensive set because Rotom and Heatran are already my specially defensive Pokemon, and then I also have Venusaur is just sitting there as being special bulk, and then we've got Mandibuzz and Landorus Therian as the two physically defensive Pokemon. My set's a bit different to one that maybe other people run. I run Taunt, Knockoff, Toxic, and Roost. It works incredibly well though because it's able to. Uh, you don't have Whirlwind because Whirlwind's really gimmicky because they can predict Whirlwind, and you have Roar with Heatran, so you can cover that problem. But Toxic can be crucial. It means that any Pokemon that wants to try and stall you out, you can stall it right back, and you've got access to Roost, Knock Off to get rid of their recovery item, and you can taunt any kind of stalling poke so they can't recover. I'm tempted maybe to give it a few more speed EVs so that I outspeed another Mandibuzz so I can taunt it first every time, and then basically just win a stall war against it. Because all I gotta do is taunt it before it Toxics, and foul players are doing nothing to me, and so I might just give it this. I'll take away this 4 here. I'll chuck that 4 over there. But I want to make sure I'm completely faster, so I'm going to go 248 there and 8 there. So any guy that's like, oh, I'm just going to, drop out and just give it the 4, put it to 97, I'll be on 98. Ready for him. I think that works a bit better with Mandibuzz as well, because he's a tank. Like, Mandibuzz takes hits all day. She's just beautiful. So now there was just one spot left in the team, and I am a stern believer in you should have a choice scarf on your team. And I was trying to think, and I looked, and I realized that with Mandibuzz not having Defog, I needed a spinner. And there's one Pokemon who I think with Choice Scarf has become an absolute threat, and that is Excadrill. I don't think people understand how good Excadrill is with a Choice Scarf. He can come in, and it means like with Rapid Spin he becomes a revenge killer and can also get rid of rocks at the same time. He's got great dual stabs in Earthquake and Iron Head, and then that Rock Slide is beautiful because you can come in on a Talonflame, you can live a Brave Bird, and then you can Rock Slide, and if he goes to the Flare Blitz, you're going to be faster. So this is basically the team, guys. So giving you maybe a bit of a better view, showing you the team. There we go. So basically that's the team, and I was pretty stoked with how it turned out. There's no real glaring weaknesses. I lost a battle once because my opponent had a Breloom, and it was because my Venusaur had died, and Venusaur was just the easy Breloom counter. I let Venusaur go, which is disappointing. So really, the thing with this team is though that it can work really well as a core against like really common problems, but if you lose a Pokemon that like really works against so I'll try and give you an example if I can. If we can go back home and hopefully set up a battle now, if the server's not still being a bitch. Oh, the server's still being a bitch. The server's not working. But as an example, let's just say you sent in. You look at the team preview, and you see that your opponent has a Heatran on their team. So first thing I do normally when I'm going into a battle is I look at what my opponent has. Even when I'm doing Wi-Fi battles, I basically write down what they're using. I look at each of my Pokemon and I say, okay, what leads best? First and foremost, normally I'm going to lead with a Rotom or Landorus because they both have switching moves, which are kind of ideal for my situation. From there, basically, all that I do is I pick whichever one works in the best situation, and then just try and pivot switch to my next best Pokemon to deal with it. Normally, I'll never switch in Excadrill. I have no reason to. But every other Pokemon is probably gonna be nifty switches in because they're all bulky. Excadrill is the only one that's not really that bulky. I didn't make it bulky. As you can see, it's not the bulkiest Pokemon with these defense and special defense stats. But oh well. So back to what I'm saying because I'm kind of rambling a bit. The thing is that you want to look for all the immediate threats initially to Excadrill and Venusaur, because these are the two guys that are basically going to do most of the work for you. Like it's expected that Excadrill can come in on a Pokemon, outspeed and kill, and it's expected that Venusaur can do huge damage. The other pokes are good there, but they're all just trying to help you out as a defensive core. And so one thing that Venusaur does really well is it doesn't stall break like Excadrill can, but the stall breaker in this team is Mandibuzz, so you don't need to worry about like making him a stall breaker. Excadrill is all just about cleaning up at the end, and also sending in for good rapid spin removal. Um, Venusaur is a good pivot as well in this team. So really, the expectation is that Excadrill doesn't really need to do much work. Excadrill shouldn't have to do a lot of work in this battle. It should be up to stuff like Heatran, Rotom, Venusaur, Mandibuzz, and Landorus to weaken most of the Pokemon, and if they're all down to low health and you know they don't have priority, Excadrill can just come in and normally just spam Earthquake for the win. But, I mean, that is situational. All this is situational. Um, but I think this is a really balanced team. I have got up to, I think, 1,000, 1,500 now. 1,500 currently. There's my dog going again. Up to 1,500 now on Showdown, and I'm probably going to try and do some videos in the future when the server starts working again, where I do sessions with this team. I'm probably just going to call it The Adventures of Scarf Drill and the Defensive Core. And yeah, we'll see. But yeah, anyway, my dog's going crazy, so I'm probably going to head off now, guys. Remember to like, subscribe, and comment on my channel. I'm going to do more analysis in the future, so it's really good because next week I'm on holidays, so I've got a few days off before I head off camping, so I'm going to do tons of videos. I'm going to try and get you some more Pokemon Black Nuzlocke soon. I know it's been a long time waiting, and hopefully some more Wi-Fi battles too. So Verdugo29, signing out.